Hey guys, welcome back to DIY Dudes. I'm Drew, and in today's video I'm going to be showing you how to install a simple cedar hedge. So I have a bit of a utility area here in my yard where I store some tractor attachments and things like that, and I really just wanted to cover that up. I didn't want to build a big, heavy, expensive wooden fence that was going to require a lot of maintenance. I'm going to be showing you guys a few basic planting techniques to get your trees off to a healthy start. Let's do this. All right, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm actually going to lay out the spacing of the cedars. So cedar hedge, you want to plant the trees about 2 to 3 feet apart from the center of the trunk. And I'm going to plant mine in a nice straight line, and I'm sure you probably will too. So the area right here, I'm trying to block this off in a nice straight line. So I'm essentially just going to pace it out. My pace is about 3 feet. So I think that's good enough to do the job. All right, so I've just marked it out with a bit of orange paint, marking out my paces. The first line I did, I went a little bit askew as I was going, so I just kind of corrected it by eye, just went back and repainted it. So now that I have everything marked out, I can go ahead and dig the holes. All right, so now I'm ready to go ahead and start digging some holes. Whenever you plant a cedar like this, you want to plant the hole slightly deeper than the root ball and twice as wide. So the root ball is essentially the size of this planter bucket. So just for argument's sake, I got my tape measure here. 16 inches wide, so 16 times 2 is 32. And it's about 12 inches deep. So yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and dig my hole about 32 inches wide, a little over 12 inches deep. I'll probably go 16. I actually wanna build this area up a little bit with soil. So maybe I'll go 12 right on the nose, and then I can build it up a little bit. Plus, I think this ground is gonna be absolutely rock solid because there's a lot of gravel and stuff in here. So the higher I can leave the hole up, the better. And I got a little bit of extra dirt, so I'm not too concerned about that. But generally speaking, you want to plant your hole or dig your hole a minimum of twice the size of the root ball and a little bit deeper. Oh yeah, this is a lot of gravel. This is gonna be some tough digging. All right guys, so the soil I'm using to plant these trees is actually called triple mix. So I purchased this by the yard from my local garden center. It was actually much cheaper than buying it by the bag. That's why I do that. As you can see, I got a lot of area here where I can use the dirt, so it's not a big deal if I have a little bit more than I need. But the idea behind the triple mix is it's a mixture of 1/3 topsoil, 1/3 compost, and 1/3 peat moss. So the compost gives the soil a lot of nutrients, the peat moss adds a lot of water retention, and the topsoil is just basic dirt, right? So the idea behind this mixture is there's a lot more nutrients and it's a lot more aerated than just a regular topsoil mix. Now I'm actually gonna go ahead and throw the dirt in the hole. So before I plant any trees, I usually line the bottoms of the holes with a thin layer of triple mix just to make sure that the root balls are totally surrounded by the good soil. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that now. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and plant my first cedar. I got a little bit of triple mix spread out in the bottom of the hole. It's about 32 inches wide, double the size of the pot, and a little bit deeper than the pot. My hole is not quite deeper than the pot because I'm actually building this area up a little bit. So you can see I'm gonna add an edging here So the top of my tree will be about here. So that's why my hole's not quite as deep as the 12 inches, the height of the pot, but I'm gonna go ahead and plant it now. Just adding a little bit of extra soil, chopping it up a little bit, make sure it's nice and aerated. Got my cedar here. So this is pretty solid clay. This isn't actually that bad. Ordinarily, I would say go around and scrunch up the sides of the root ball just to break some of these strands. When you break the root strands that are around the edge of the root ball, it allows the tree roots to spread evenly into the soil surrounding it. But I think this one's pretty fresh, to be honest with you, and this is pretty solid clay. So I'm just gonna go ahead and plant this like this. So whenever you plant a tree always has a face. It's one side that got a lot of sun. It's gonna be the fullest, it's gonna be the nicest looking. You always want that side of the tree facing the area that's gonna be most predominantly viewed. So in my case, I want the face facing this way, and I think that this side here is the face. All right, so I got a little bit of extra soil around here. So the idea here is I'm just kind of wedging the tree where I want it before I fully pack the soil around it. So just stand back, give it a good once over. I think this looks pretty good. Just work the soil in, tightly pack it around the root ball. I always like to work it in layers. So go about a third to a halfway up, first layer. And then before you're done, I always try and round the soil out into a little bit of a bowl shape. So I'm not fully done this area, so I'm just doing this more for visual effect, but the idea is that you're creating a bowl so that when you water this thing, the water gets funneled back towards the tree trunk and down into the root ball. All right, and that's it. I'm gonna go ahead and do that 7 more times and I'll have myself a cedar hedge. I've got all 7 of my cedars planted. They look great. Now I have about a quarter of a yard left of dirt to shovel in around all the plants, and it's gonna make a nice berm to berm this up. And then after that, I'll rake this material over top and just kind of berm everything up, make some bowls around the cedars themselves. And then I'm gonna leave this kind of squared off because eventually I'm gonna put some edging here. I haven't quite decided what I'm gonna do yet, but for now, I'm just gonna kind of round everything up, make it look good. So I planted these guys in the spring, so it should be all right, but I'm gonna try and water these guys every other day for the next month or so to make sure they have a good, strong chance to survive the spring and into the summer. The thing with cedars is they're a very water-heavy plant. They need a lot of water, especially when you're transplanting them or first planting them. All right, so just make sure you guys stay on top of the watering. All right guys, so I just wrapped up planting these 7 emerald cedars and they look awesome. In a couple of years, this is gonna be a massive hedge covering up this entire area. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. Please remember to like, subscribe, and share, and see you next time.